Coming today. Before we start, we must thank the elders past and present for the use of their land, Aboriginal land. That's very important. And I was just over in Canberra at the Tent Embassy, and we were discussing with the elders several issues about Australia, but this particular thing about the Shark Cull, they were appalled. So I just want you to know the Aboriginal elders in their community are appalled, and they back us 100% from Canberra. So good on them. My name's Mark Aldridge. I'm with the Australian Alliance, and we have an animal welfare division which has a strong interest in reforms. Now, what is appalling here is that innocent animals dragged up beside a boat and shot in the head with a rifle of the wrong calibre is absolute disgrace to this country, and it sends a message around the world that we don't care for our wildlife. It sends a message that the environmental protections that we've worked so hard for are being pushed aside by the current government, and it's unacceptable. We all know that. The federal law was in place to protect sharks. The federal law was there to protect the environment, and we know that Greg Hunt up there in Canberra has allowed the WA government to slaughter these animals. He's also allowed them to go into our Great Barrier Reef and destroy that and to dump rubbish there. Now that's unacceptable, and we all know it. So let's have a big cheer in a moment for Greg Hunt, and I don't think it'll be a cheer, but a big boo for Greg Hunt. Can we have that, please? The problem here is that governments have a mandate, and 82% of the Australian public do not want this Shark Cull to go ahead. It is unacceptable for a minister to override our protections that are hard-fought protections for these animals. He has no mandate to do that, and it's unacceptable. So I want everybody here, when they go home, to find his phone numbers, to find his email addresses, and send letters to him, and block his email service, and make him absolutely certain that we do not accept the slaughter of innocent animals in this nation. I was over in WA last week. I'll head back again on Thursday to meet with animal welfare groups there, and they are appalled as well. So just so you know, this is Australia-wide, but the people in WA, even the ministers themselves in WA, some of their staff are absolutely appalled by what's going on. So it is even the media today, when I was speaking to the media on ABC this morning and on 5AA, even the staff have had enough. So we may be fairly large numbers here today, but we represent 82% of the Australian population that think this is absolute bloody rubbish. There's going to be some great speakers today that are much more informed than I am on the topic, so I won't go too much into it. To invest $4 million plus to slaughter innocent animals in some stupid manner when there is absolutely no proof, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to say this will actually make it safer to swim in the ocean. So it's absolute rubbish. There are animals out there, there are other sea life out there that will also be caught up in this rubbish. So please, everybody, make sure you keep spreading the word. Get on your email, get on your Facebook sites, your social networks, and make sure you spread this word. Let's appear 10 times bigger than we even are, because we can stop this, because the united people have never lost anything ever in our history. Yeah. The most important thing for all of us to realise that we have to live in harmony with the environment. We cannot override the environment until we as a people, as a race, can start to work in harmony with our sea life, with our environment. We are the ones that will be in demise, because the Mother Nature will come back, we won't. So this is an important moment in our history to stand up every time this happens and meet like this and scream out and make sure our voices are heard to make a difference in this country. Thank you. Yeah. I'd like to get Mark Parnell from the Greens to come up and speak. The Greens have been great advocates of animal welfare and the environment, and I think it's very important that he's here, and I thank him very much. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Mark, and thank you all again for coming along today. I too acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and it was great to hear that we had some support from traditional owners against this stupid policy of culling sharks. I'd also like to acknowledge that the local mayor, Ken Rowland, has joined us today, the mayor of Holdfast Bay. That's great. And also we're going to hear a bit later from Rodney Fox, who's back again. Fantastic that they're both here. In some ways, I was thinking, yeah, I wonder whether people will come out again. You know, another weekend, the forecast isn't looking too great. But the fact that you've come here in your hundreds today shows that even though this appalling behaviour is happening on the other side of our continent, you care enough about it to be here today to make sure that two things. First of all, that they reverse that stupid decision in Western Australia for the indiscriminate culling of sharks. It's a bad decision. And secondly, to make sure that this never ever happens in South Australia. Yeah. When we met here last time, just a couple of weeks ago, it was simply a policy. It hadn't actually happened. Now it's happening. We've had the first shark shot, as Mark Aldridge just said before, and there are no doubt more to come. So what was a little bit academic a while ago is now real life. It's happening, and we have to stand up and say that it is unacceptable to ever do this sort of thing in our name. Yeah. Part of my role today is to remind you of something that most of you I think already know, and that is that we have a state election coming up on the 15th of March. And I've got to tell you, there is nothing focuses the mind of a Member of Parliament or a party or a candidate for office than the fact that people are paying attention to what's going on. Yeah. They're going to have to cast their ballot on the 15th of March. And what I think we need to do collectively is make sure that there isn't any parties or candidates or groups of candidates in this state who support this abhorrent policy of the Barnett government. So to that end, when Parliament resumes in early May, I'm going to put the following motion on the record. That the Legislative Council acknowledges that sharks are an integral part of marine ecosystems throughout Australia and that we have an obligation to respect their habitat and their right to exist. Secondly, that Parliament acknowledges that the risk of shark attack is extremely low and that priority should be given to education and non-lethal methods of deterrence. Thirdly, the Parliament condemns the shark culling program introduced by the WA Liberal government, and finally calls on the South Australian State Government to commit to not introducing this or similar policies in relation to South Australian coastal waters. We're going to put that on the agenda of Parliament, but what you need to do, and I'll have this up on my Facebook page shortly after this rally, what you need to do is you need to ask every candidate who's running in your local area or running for the upper house of state Parliament, do they support that motion? If they don't support the motion, you need to let them know that that is going to influence your vote. That's what the democratic system is all about. If you care about this, in 2 months' time, less than 2 months' time, there's an election. Candidates need to know that this is a vote changer for people. We've seen that it's going to be a close contest. Yesterday, all sorts of shenanigans. There'll be more shenanigans in the next 6 weeks. Welcome to politics. But what is important is the issues. Let's leave aside the personalities and the conflicts and whatever. The issues are important. So if you care about the marine environment, if you believe that sharks have a right to exist in their habitat, unmolested by us, if you agree that the risk is low and that you're prepared to go swimming, you're prepared to take that risk. As someone said last time, you've got more chance of being killed by a vending machine falling on you than you have of being killed by a shark in the sea. They're the statistics. We know them. The Barnett government is out of control. They are out of line. They do not speak for Australians. You need to make your voice heard in the lead up to the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Very good. Now we've got a recreational fisherman here, Dwayne, and we'd like to hear what he has to say about this. Dwayne, could you come on our seat, please?
Yeah, on you, Dwayne.
G'day, punters. Some of you who know me know that I'm not usually all that serious, but every now and then there's something that really gets my knickers in a knot. And this is one of those occasions. Looking around, I see a great number of punters from all different walks of life. We've got surfers, we've got greenies, animal rights activists, recreational anglers, hipsters who've taken their time out so that they're not preening their beards, you know, and a lot more concerned people.
Sailing.
Them. People who've managed to drag themselves out of their lounge chairs, from out in front of the idiot box, letting go of the remote, from out in front of social media pages to let their voice be heard. What I see before me is unity. A mob of concerned Aussies braving what could be a scorcher of a day to have their voices heard. We as Australians have a long history of living alongside sharks. It's something that most Australians have grown to accept and even hold in great esteem. Let's face it, the humble Noah is fantastic for scaring foreign tourists with, almost as good as the drop bears. You know, it warms every Australian's heart to see a foreign tourist who's too scared to get in the water and scared to walk under a gum tree. Thank you. We Australians, however, love the water. We're surrounded by the bloody stuff. I've talked to a few people who are scared of sharks, so they don't go in the ocean. Smart cookies, those ones. We all know the risks associated with going in the oceans, and we weigh up these dangers and we say, bugger it, I'm going for a swim. It's exceptionally rare to get taken by a shark. And when you think of the amount of people that use our beaches every year, that's millions of dangling little tantalising tasty limbs that you guys are teasing the sharks with. I have a surfer mate, he's a straight up guy, and I was asking him about it and he said, if I get taken by a shark when I'm surfing, that's just my destiny. I said to him, would you want them to hunt the shark and kill it? And he said, no way. Actually, he was a little bit harsher than that, but I'm trying to be good. So as mentioned, I'm a recreational fisherman, or rec fisho as we like to be known, and sometimes we get a bit of a bad rap. Some people think that we might actually support a shark cull. Now I talked to some of my rec fisho brothers and sisters, and not one of them supports this. Not one. Not one single one. I mean, that guy who caught the shark in WA on Australia Day of all days didn't even know what species it was. He was close enough to shoot it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, I think it's a bull shark. You bloody amateur. The government needs to wake up. I mean, what a ridiculous idea, baiting lines so close to popular swimming beaches. Are serious parts of their brain missing or what? Yeah. Sharks migrate vast distances. Now if you swam from Africa to Australia, you'd hit your first tuck shop too. They've got thousands of tiny pores in their noses that help make up this very, very fantastic sensory organ. They can detect 1 drop of blood in more than 4.5 million litres of water. So setting up these drum lines everywhere is doing a bloody good job of burleying up these beaches that they're trying to protect. Yeah. Plus the fact that basically you catch a shark that puts more blood in the water and then it thrashes around. What do you think that's going to attract? It's not going to attract Flamin' Nemo, is it? It's a no-brainer, unfortunately, instituted by people with no brains. I mean, I'm dopey, like, I'm bloody stupid. But I'm an intellectual giant compared to the people behind this shark cull. I mean, the cull is surely designed to placate those dim-witted enough to think it's going to make 1 iota of difference in shark attack fatalities. Here's an idea. Instead of a 3 metre minimum length for sharks, why don't we have a 3 metre minimum height for beachgoers. Right? That will stop shark fatalities without hurting anyone or anything. Tell me why that's a bad idea. Yeah. Tell me why that's any worse an idea than a shark cull. We all have choices. Smoking and drinking is a choice. But you can choose to partake jumping out of aeroplanes. That can end badly, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it if you want to. I mean, if a skier gets killed by an avalanche, you don't go out and cull the snow. I mean, it's a natural occurrence, and you can still choose not to put yourself at risk. Sharks are part of our national identity. You might as well cull Vegemite. We all, as Australians, need to stand up to these politicians and remind them they're supposed to work for us. They are making the entire Australian populace look like a mob of brainless drongos, which then makes it a national issue. So I think that I should urge all Australians to go and email Greg Hunt and get stuck into him. Actually, no, it's not Greg Hunt. It's Mike until further notice. When he starts showing Australians some respect, we'll give him some in return. Thank you very much.
Bloody well said, eh? Bloody well said. I needed a bit of a pickup. I was getting a bit sad standing here, and you fixed it today. Thanks, Dwayne. We're going to get Emma up next, who's a very, very passionate animal welfare expert. Expert? Yeah, I'll try expert. Here you go, Emma. Thank you.
Hello all. Yeah, I guess I could be classed as an expert. I don't think I've been doing it for that long. More like an activist and just a concerned citizen, like all of you wonderful people who have all bothered to show up. I'm overwhelmed with how many people are here today. So I would like to first take a moment for everyone to give a massive cheer for everybody here, for everybody that's bothered to get up, come in the heat, stand in the heat and try and avoid the heat in the shade and have their voices heard. Let's have a massive cheer for everybody here today. That's a lot of people. That's a hell of a lot of people, and I swear if people can't hear us after today, I'll be darn surprised. I would like to take a moment to think about that shark that has been murdered. He was a tiger shark, not a bull shark, and he was shot 4 times in the head. How is it humane? How is it easy to kill a shark if you have to shoot it 4 times in the head for it to die, after dragging it through the water on a hook right through its gums? I mean, I have my lip pierced, in case you haven't noticed, and I couldn't imagine being dragged through that, through water, and being held by it, left thrashing in just utmost distress to escape, and then being shot 4 times. I think we need to take a moment just to think about that shark, think about why we're here, and just close our eyes and remind ourselves why we're here today. Okay, take a big deep breath. First of all, I have a statement here I would like to read to all of you. This is a statement written by Jeff Hansen, who is the Australian Director of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society of Australia. He's in full support of this rally, and he's absolutely disgusted. He says, "Dear Sea Shepherd friends and supporters, as you all have seen and heard in the media, in the early hours of Australia Day morning, the fishermen hired to perform Barnett's dirty work of killing protected species went out to check Barnett's drumlines as part of the new Shark Cull program off the Western Australian coast. On the last drum line, the fisherman found a beautiful 3-metre plus female tiger shark. She was then brought alongside the boat by the fisherman and shot 4 times in the head before she finally died. She was then gutted and then dragged out to sea and dumped as a means to hide Barnett's dirty work from the world. It was a cruel, painful and unnecessary death. If this is the way we treat our Australian battlers that work tirelessly to maintain the balance in our oceans, the health and integrity of humanity's life support systems, then on this Australia Day, I was ashamed to be Australian. Barnett's controversial program went ahead after Federal Environment Minister Greg Hunt granted Western Australia an exemption under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, allowing the protected great white shark to be killed. It is a policy that is ignoring the EPBC Act, the IUCN, the majority of public opinion, the victims' families and shark experts, and scientists of the wider community, and even a report commissioned by Bond University in Queensland. The Barnett government is refusing to listen to any logic on this, and as such, another National Day of Action has been called for in defence of the great white shark and ultimately the health and biodiversity of our oceans. Our oceans, that give us human beings up to 80% of our oxygen, is our life support system, and the great white shark is one of the doctors that maintain our life support. They remove the weak, the sick, the injured, and they maintain the balance of our precious marine ecosystems, ensuring a healthy and robust life support system. We need them. They don't need us. And if we do not give them respect and protection that they need, we are all in big trouble. We are now asking all of our supporters to come out again this Saturday, of which you are all here, to be a massive voice for the Sharks and attend one of the national rallies. If you came last time, it's good to see you again, and I hope you've all brought friends, which clearly you have. And obviously we're all here today to send a clear message to Barnett and the coalition government that we vote and do not want this assault on our precious marine life to continue. We will not rest until our precious marine life and our sharks that maintain our marine ecosystems and life-supporting oceans are given the respect and protection they deserve for the sake of future generations. For an ocean without sharks is a planet without people. I think it's time to get a bit angry. Get a bit of therapy going, get it out of your system. We all know that. Let's have a cheer for that, Okay, I'm going to say no bait, no hate, and you guys can say keep our sharks off the hooks. Are you all ready?
Yeah.
Is that ready?
Yeah!
That's a bit better. No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
Louder, guys. No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
Are you listening, Barnett? No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
Couple more for our oceans, guys. Come on. No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
No bait, no hate.
Keep our sharks off the hook!
Thank you all for coming.
Brilliant job. You've got the clock now. Now here we have a man that knows what he's talking about.
About 50 to 60 years ago, very little was known about our ocean. I can talk for South Australia here because I was one of the spear fishermen in the very early days when there were many clubs and going out spearfishing in large numbers. During the time after my shark attack, there was 2 or 3 others very close down at Aldinga and along the coast there. And I could not believe the hatred and the fear that was associated with sharks. After my shark attack in hospital, I noticed that there was an incredible unknown hatred and a fear to do with sharks, all sharks. Nobody knew the names of sharks. And I decided then that there was an anomaly there. During the last 50 years since my shark attack, I've tried and get people to understand the sharks better, to realise what their usefulness in our ocean is. The ocean is a totally different place than on land, and we have to approach it entirely different than we would on land. We just can't kill our problems and let them get away. We have to learn to live with the sharks. Over that 50 years, we've made the Fox Expeditions has made 70 different documentaries for overseas filmmakers from 16 or 18 countries. Most of them have brought with them their shark researchers and scientists to speak in their language and to find out more. And all of them have agreed that sharks are a necessary part of our ocean, and that saying again, we have to learn to live with them. The Fox Foundation is actually part of our expeditions because we found out that to really get a few dollars in to try and get sharks understood more with satellite tags, with photographic indexing, and to get people to understand the sharks better, we needed a name. So hence the Fox Foundation. And what our basic aims are is to do what we've failed to do here with Mr. Barnett, is to learn why we need the sharks and how to live with the sharks. The amount of money that is being spent in Western Australia to kill a few sharks on their journeys from long distances away will have to go on forever to be able to protect his beaches as such. But protection isn't really needed. I heard stories of several of the people that were attacked in Western Australia knew there were big sharks in the area and took their chances. That maybe is an educational thing that we must teach people, that it is far better to save your life, miss the surf for that day, than to actually go out and take your chances. The film Jaws showed that sharks have a very high priority in our ecosystem and in our understanding, whether it be fear or whether it be love. People will listen when you talk about sharks. I know I've actually done lots of talks around the world, and people are really quiet, like they are now, when you start talking about sharks, because nobody wants to be eaten alive. And what I really feel about this whole thing is, if they could spend so much money on killing a few sharks, why can't they spend that amount of money on understanding them, researching them, finding out why there are more in that one particular area, and if they can do something about it. We've been making films for a long time now, and many times I thought I was a pretty lonely voice out there, and I'm really, really, really happy to find so many people come today and to support this actually. Let's look out for, but look after the sharks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What a pleasure. Dan? One more speaker, and I think it's pertinent, so here we go, Dan.
Wow, what a terrific day it is today to be talking about sharks, the wonderful apex predators of our oceans, the wonderful protected species that some of them are, and beaming out those messages of hope and love, and let's try and bring this to an end as quickly and as sensibly as we possibly can. Now, some of you may have heard me speak here a month ago, so my talk today obviously is going to be different. I'm going to recap a few key points and then provide a little bit of context of how we got to here, how this cull actually came to be, and some of the wacky thinking behind that process. In my personal opinion, I believe it's inhumane, unnecessary and unscientific, and I think I'm fairly well supported in that opinion. What do you think? Now, just under a month ago, there was a national day of action and thousands of people came out all around the country, even in towns where shark risk is probably not a problem at all. And the Western Australian government chose not to listen to those protesters. I think that's a matter of shame. Now, also, that same government rejected scientific cases that were presented to them years in advance of starting this cull. So, the popularity poll, which Mark Aldridge mentioned before, has a few salient figures attached to it, so I'll just share them. 83%, this is according to a UMR research survey, which was published in the Sydney Morning Herald this week. 83% of Australians haven't changed how often they swim, surf, or take part in any other recreational activities in the ocean because of the risk of shark attack. 78% of the 500 adults surveyed feel safe from shark attacks when going in the ocean. 82% don't think that sharks should be killed and say people enter the water at their own risk, which you've already heard today with great agreement. And only 15% favour the hunting down and killing of sharks to make beaches safer. But it shows that there's a real minority that are supporting this measure as it's currently implemented, and active alternatives that are much more sensitive to our environment and the needs of people and the living biosphere have been dismissed. So I'll go on to talk about those. So, and a question I'd like you to just ask yourselves is, how much do we think that those people who actually support the killing of sharks know about sharks, and how much time do they actually spend in or on the water? So it's becoming clearer that it's a fringe belief to support shooting sharks in the head as a way of managing our own fear. So I believe there's room for improved public education, and Rodney Fox made that point very clearly and profoundly. And I think we're getting there. But the politicians seem to be slow learners. In 2012, a Bond University report, which was mentioned in Jeff Hanson's statement, recommended specifically against the use of drumlines. Then in 2013, over 100 scientists signed an open letter to the Western Australian government calling for the use of non-lethal shark protection measures and increased research effort. Last month, despite those two recommendations coming in well ahead of the final decision, the policy was implemented, and now we're seeing the shark body count rising. Now, all those sharks caught on drumlines that are greater than 3 metres in length are to be shot, if not already drowned and disposed of. The government has received a waiver, as you heard, to allow the killing of great white sharks in this way, which otherwise are a protected species and it would be a criminal offence. So they've been given a leave pass to break federal law. Now, drumlines have been used in Australia before, and in Queensland and in New South Wales. They have been in place since 1962, and some supporters of the policy are using that as their argument to defend what's happening in the West. But people involved with that scheme will tell you that it's been successful, with only one human life lost at a baited and protected beach. But bear in mind that those beaches are also netted, and those shark nets are even worse in terms of the bycatch, the other species that become tangled up in those nets. The lines kill 500 to 700 sharks annually, with bycatch including numerous protected species, including dolphins, dugong and sea turtles. So successful for people, perhaps, but at great expense to the surrounding ecosystem. So I think coming back to managing safety, I think it really comes back to a personal perspective. And again, Rodney and some of the other speakers mentioned that. Users of that marine environment need to take responsibility for their own safety. It's my opinion that all extreme users of that marine environment should be informed of ways to improve their personal safety. So such measures include increasing, firstly, their understanding of shark behaviour and doing things like avoiding surf breaks that are near to seal colonies. And I know that one of the 7 deaths that led to this policy, an eyewitness described seeing a large group of seals go by just before the attack. And also increasing knowledge of available protection technology. So of those 7 fatalities in WA, I think it's important that we look closely at what people were actually up to when they were taken by sharks. And I respect the great sadness and grief that their losses have been caused to their families and friends. Now, 4 of those were surfing or bodyboarding and taken from the surface. And sharks can easily mistake the silhouette of a surfer for that of a floating carcass of another animal or a seal. One of them was spearfishing, and spearfishing, of course, is known to release blood into the water, which we know sharks are very good at detecting and pursuing. One was diving on a productive crayfish reef, and a productive reef is obviously producing a lot of food for the ocean, and that food will move all the way up the food chain to the great whites and the other big predators. And the last was swimming out to a buoy 500 metres offshore, which is something that man chose to do every day of his life. Of his adult life at least. So these are not mum and dad with the kids down at the beach. These are people who are engaged in quite a high-end sporting use of the marine environment, and they're involved in accepting a much higher level of risk than any of the majority of beach-going Australians. So shark attack risk for humans is low and really always has been, but the human attack risk on sharks is alarming. Estimates of the global shark catch range from 70 million to 100 million animals per year, and a lot of that is for the shark finning market. So in closing, I'm sorry to end on a bleaker note, but it's important that we keep these things in perspective. I believe that sharks deserve our respect and our protection, and certainly not the persecution they're getting now. So enjoy the water, everyone.
Thank you so much for your coming today. And it's a very, very important day, and we have proven here that the majority of people with numbers like this on a hot day don't want the culling of sharks. There's no science, there's no reason. We had protections in place, they should be bloody well upheld. We've had enough of it, and I think that we need to go away from here today, spread the word, spread the photos, spread the videos, keep talking to people and keep harassing the politicians, and just make sure that we can start to live with the environment, which is just so important. Thank you so much.
Reiterate my thanks and let you all know that there will be an online petition. I'll repost the link on the event page later today. So if you could all spend some time to take individual photos of yourselves and others, each holding a sign. The petition link will be on that event. You go to that, then you just put in your details and upload a photo, and let's all show Barnet exactly what we think of this cull.